welcome to the first episode of Nobody Asks. My name is Viva. If you know me, you know I love drama and I love yapping around. And if you don't know me, I'm Viva. I spent way too much time online. I listened to too many dramas and I'm telling the stories that nobody asked for, but I'm telling them anyways. Oh, I'm just so excited for this episode. Last year, I literally wrote in my notes saying my first episode will be about this topic. And now I'm starting this episode, this podcast, with this topic. So let me start with the reason why this podcast exists now. Since last year, I've been thinking of creating a podcast, never happened. And this year, I was telling Boeing about I don't know what I was telling about. I think maybe one of the 90 Days Fiance. And then he was like, you should definitely do a podcast. It's so interesting. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I should. So now I'm here. And just to say this before we start, nothing here is meant to cause any harm. I'm not accusing anybody. I'm not attacking anybody. This is just a little gossip between us. And with that being said, let's start this episode. I hope you got your popcorn and your drinks ready because this is a hell of a ride. Let's start off with the show that I'm going to talk about. Today we are talking about 90 Days Fiance. If you don't know what this show is about, congratulations on your mental health. I honestly would love that as well. But I've been down this hole way too long. For those who don't know what 90 Days Fiance is, it's a show where Americans fall in love with people from the overseas. And they would fly their loved ones into the country for 90 days to, get the documents ready, signed, get married, and live their life happily ever after. But this one, I'm specifically focusing on 90 Days Fiance before the 90 days, which is basically before they get married. And then it's just them talking to this person. So usually it's the American flying out of the country. This show is one of the shows that is very chaotic, very uncomfortable to watch, but it's also very addicting as well. I think it's generally fascinating to see how these people make choices. There's so many couples on this show that's so iconic and I want to cover, but I'm going to cover the most iconic, most infamous one first, which is Ed and Rose. Let's talk about Ed. Let me paint a picture. Ed, he's from San Diego, he's 54, he's from California. Ed is a person who has a merch of his face. He literally has a license plate that says Big Ed. So Ed was married for 2 years and the marriage ended because he was unfaithful and he has a daughter named Tiffany who is 29 years old. So be mindful of this age. Remember this age. This marriage lasts for 2 years. And then 28 years later, he was like, you know what? I'm ready to fall in love again. And that person that he fell in love with is Rosemary Vega. So who is Rosemary? Rosemary Vega, she is 23 years old. Do the math? Yes. Rosemary is younger than his daughter, Tiffany, who is 29. So he is now dating someone who's younger than his daughter. Rose lives in the Philippines and she's got a kid called Prince who is 4 years old. And she lives a very simple life, no AC house, a very rural but simple. And they're happy. And throughout the show, I think the first few scenes, they would show Ed and Rose to be very loving. They're very obsessed, equally obsessed with each other, I'd say. I've literally got a lot of things noted down because there's so many stuff that happens. And this is just the starting bit. So they met on Facebook. Ed sent her a friend request and they started talking. And within 3 months, he was flying to the Philippines to meet Rose. And within the 4 weeks of talking to each other, he starts sending Rose gifts. He sent normal gifts, household stuff, pillows, shoes, sheets. In the interview, he said that he spent over $5,000 sending stuff. And his family, especially his mom, is very concerned because she's like, is she scamming him? And his friends are a bit worried as well. And his friends were like, you're crazy for going halfway across the world to meet someone within 3 months, right? But what's even crazier is that Big Ed, he doesn't listen to them. Big Ed was like, you know what? She's the one. I'm buying a ring. He bought an engagement ring. So this man got an engagement ring 3 months within talking. And then his plan was to be in the Philippines for 20 days and coming back engaged.
In a few days, I'm getting ready to get on a plane and go meet Rose, the love of my life. I'm super excited because I also bought a ring. And I plan to ask Rose to marry me.
I think the timeline is pretty... I know in 90 Days Fiance, people tend to be very rushed into the relationship, but this is wild because literally he bought a ring. Big Ed is someone who is very memeable. I think you probably have seen his meme around. A few days before the flight, he was like, you know what? Because I'm 54 and Rose is like turned 23, I need to look young for Rose. So he dyed his hair. Because of the dye, his scalp was a bit irritated. So he was like, you know what? Let me look up on the internet, wrong move, of what to do. And the internet suggested mayo. Let me just show you the mayo scene. So he put mayo on, and that was probably like the first impression that I had of him is mayo man. Not a good look, but you know what? The things we do for love, I guess. One of the comments that he said during his packing video is that he was bringing a lot of stuff. He brought gifts and presents for the family, and he was like, I don't know if they have popcorn. Oh, I don't even know if they have microwave. And I was like, excuse me. You're going to the Philippines. You're not going to the forest. What's worse is that there are a couple things that he has kept from Rose because we call him Big Ed, right? He's supposed to be tall. He's actually not. He is 5'2", is he? Yeah. No. He is 4'11", but he was like talking to Rose and Rose like, oh, how tall are you? And he was like, how tall are you? And Rose like, I'm 5'2". And he said, cool, I'm also 5'2". But in reality, he's 4'11", which that's the first lie that he did. The second lie was that because Rose she's 23, she's young, she's got a kid, and she loves kids. She wants more kids. Ed doesn't want any more kids because he's like, I'm too old to handle another baby. I've been through the process of raising a child. I am done with it. That is the two most important things that would play a big part in the situation that would unfold in the future. It cut to the scene where Ed flew into Manila and Rose was a bit late. So Ed was like, oh no, am I being ghosted? And obviously when Rose met Ed, she was like, your height is a bit different. But she was like, it's okay. I love him anyways. On the way to the hotel, Ed also, you know how Ed was wondering if there is a microwave in the Philippines? He asked Rose, has she ever been to a hotel before? And she was like, yes, of course, with my friends. And he was like, oh, really? I couldn't see any chemistry between these two at all. Like, I've never seen any chemistry. I think the first few scenes, they were on the phone call. They were very loving, but like in person, I don't see it. The first day together, it was very insane. So because Rose was like, oh, let me take you around. Let me take you to a market. Being American and being Ed, he was sweaty. He was sweating so bad. Like it's the worst day of his life. He is too hot. He's cranky. He has an attitude. And Rose was like, okay. And I think in Rose's head, she was like, I wanted to talk more. I wanted to get to know him more. But Ed was being a bit cranky, so they didn't do anything. And Ed was like, let's go to a nail salon. And then they went in, and then Rose was trying to make conversation. And yeah, the first day, you would think that they would, talk about their preference or like, get to know each other more, right? But Ed did not do that. Ed literally was like, oh, you've got 4,000 friends on Facebook. Or any of them like guys you talk to? And then Rose was like, no one. And he's like, are you sure? Ed was basically asking her about her past. Rose was like, oh, I don't want to talk about it because like I've left it in the past already. It's the past. During their dinner, he was also asking about the past as well. I think that's normal. It's like when you're in a relationship that was not good, was toxic, you don't want to go revisit that memory again. You don't want to talk about it and bring those memories up, which that I totally understand. But I don't think Ed was like fully trusting her. Basically the entire time or entire day, he starts grilling her about her past, her ex, why she has 4,000 friends on Facebook. I think he was just up in his own head and he was thinking that he couldn't trust Rose. I'm scared to trust Rose. I think that's what he was thinking. And because she has 4,000 friends on Facebook, she's unfaithful. But Rose was very sweet though. Rose was like, I only have you. Please have faith in me. This is just the first day. Apart from trying to get information from her past, she also was asked to take an STD test, which Ed was like, oh, just so I can trust you, you have to take an STD test. She was clearly offended, but she was like, okay, I'll take the test if you take the test as well. And Ed was like, no, I would take a test, just not here. I would take a test back in the States, not in the Philippines, because he doesn't trust the places in the Philippines. And I'm just like, it's not fair. And Rose said that as well. Like, it's not fair. She was very, very pissed off. And then they literally have a full on argument on their first day. Rose decided in the end to tell Ed about the past, and she was telling about the ex, and he was like, yeah, that's what I needed. The first day didn't go really well because Rose stayed at a different hotel, Ed stayed at a different hotel, and Ed was like, oh, woke up, sorry, I effed up. Can we like please meet up at a cafe? And he apologized. He was like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt your feeling. And apparently he still needs to be taught how to love people. A man who is 54. You would think that things would go uphill from now. But no, it does go very, very, it just rolls down a big hill. It keeps on rolling down. The second night, they decide to book a hotel together. And honestly, I was just very uncomfortable the entire time because Ed was like, I'm ordering champagne. I'm ordering, like, tell Rose to wear a robe. Ed brought like massage oils, and I'm just like, why? And it was just very uncomfortable to see because he was like, can I give you a foot massage? And she was like, okay. Apparently they're in love. I don't see that, but apparently they're in love. And then the next morning he commented on her leg and basically said that, oh, I noticed that your legs are very hairy. Can you shave? And then Rose was like, I'll shave if you shave your beard. So in the end, Rose had shaved her legs and she was like, here, have a look at these legs. Are you happy? And Ed, I think he did shave his face as well. After this incident, they still go to Rose's hometown and meet up with the family. In this scene, we discovered that Ed is actually 1 year younger than Rose's dad. And he literally asked to her dad, he was like, how do you feel that I'm younger than you? Just 1 year. It was just a very awkward like lunch because there's no AC. They lived with fans and there's no like shower places. So you just shower with like big tube, big like bucket, and then you just, you know, splash yourself with the water. That's basically how they do it. And that's normal for them. And I was like, this is crazy. And he couldn't stand it. He literally was like sweaty and sweating and he was just sweat all over. Like I can, like one of the scenes, he woke up. Rose is totally normal. She was like, I'm unfazed. And Ed was like, I'm dying. Like, literally, get me out of here. And he couldn't take it. So, to give you context, she lives with her sister who runs a little, like, convenience store shop that you see, like, on the sidewalks. And her dad runs a pig farm and he lives in the pig farm. And then Rose was like, my dad wants to show you his pig farm. They went and literally, Ed was just not good. He was like, I'm not wearing proper shoes. He just looked very awkward. He tried feeding the pig and he like slipped and he almost fell into the pig's farm thingy. And it was just not the best scene to watch. It just looked very awkward. He was just sweating. And spending the night at Rose's place wasn't the best thing for him. And he was like, I'm suffering. I'm dying. Take me away. It's the worst day of my life. So he booked a hotel. She did say in the interview saying that she wanted Ed to get to know Prince, her son, more so that they could like be comfortable with each other. But then Ed was like, I can't do this. Like I need AC, which understandable. I was in Philippines. It was so hot. Like literally, I think I was never comfortable in the Philippines because it was just so freaking hot. I was dying. I discovered that I can't be an island girly and I cannot be the I love nature kind of girl. I am the I need comfort, I need AC, and I need ice. But that part I really understand Ed. So after everything, Ed was like, okay, let me book us a trip to Palawan, which is like an beach destination kind of island in the Philippines where everybody goes for like their romantic getaway, their honeymoon. So I think this beach escape was a little more for Ed than for her. She was like, okay, I'll go along. I'll miss my son, but I'll go along. They spent the night. They wake up. So let me paint you a picture. Imagine you're Rose, right? You woke up to this beautiful island. You see the sea, you see the beach. You're having your cup of coffee, and this man walks in and hands you like a small bag and says, I got you a gift. And you open the bag and you see lingerie, you see toothbrush, and then you see toothpaste.
So this is mouthwash, and I got you a cute toothbrush. This your breath is not pretty.
They're not so pretty. That's what Ed said. And she was like, I'm sorry, but I have an ulcer. I brush my teeth every day. It's not that I'm unhygienic or anything, but like I have a problem with it. I can't just magically fix it with a toothbrush and a toothpaste. And her face immediately changed after she saw the gift. You literally could tell that she was not happy, but she handled it very politely. Ed tried to soften the blow and, soften the mood by saying, I love you.
I love you.
Pangit mo.
I love you.
Pangit mo.
Does that mean I love you? I hope it means I love you.
This trip gives him an opportunity to, get to know Rose a bit more, ask Rose a lot of questions, get his doubts out of the way. And one of the biggest doubts that he has was before he came to the Philippines, Rose's sister texted him on Facebook asking for money to help with the shop. And he was like, I'm not sure if Rose is in on this as well. And then he confronted Rose about it. Rose was like, I don't have any involvement with that. He trusts her again. They're in good place. They're all laughing again. And one of the most iconic scenes in this series is they're by the swimming pool. They're swimming. There's a little montage of them swimming. And then they sat next to the pool. And she's like,
I like the view.
You do?
Yes.
You're my best view.
Nye.
eh. You're so sweet. That's her response. I remember watching that scene and I just felt this intense secondhand embarrassment. I was like, oh my God, this is not it. And in that scene, Ed was like, oh, FYI, I don't want a kid. I'm planning on having a vasectomy because I don't want another kid at all. And Rose was like, we've been talking for 3 months. You have never mentioned it to me once that you didn't want a kid. And she has been talking about how she wants a kid all the time during the phone call and everything. But Ed decides not to bring that up while they're in, the Philippines, which I think it's kind of absurd because Ed was like, he got a ring for Rose.
I want 2 kids because that's my dream. I tell you before, right? I tell you I want 2 kids, but why you not answer me like this?
On this topic, having kids is clearly her dream. And for someone to have that as a dream, I think it's non-negotiable. I know you can compromise with a lot of stuff, but I just think this is like, if someone's dream is to have a kid and then you can't give her a kid, then why talk for 3 months, fly to the Philippines, buy a ring, and hope that she would accept your condition? I just don't understand what goes on in his brains. And obviously, this ended on a bad note. In the morning, Ed woke up and Rose is missing. And at this point, I was like, yeah, Rose left the island. She flew away. She swam away. She was obviously pissed off. She was so mad. She was like, why didn't you tell me that you didn't want a kid?
Why you not tell me the truth? You not want a baby. Why you not tell me the truth? Why you not telling me first on chatting? Why you tell me right now?
And it was like, I'm sorry. I just didn't think you'd get this hurt. I just didn't think you'd get this mad. Rose was very direct at how much he has hurt her. This is where I'm going to be honest. I have always just watched commentary videos about this. I've never fully watched an episode before. And because I'm doing this podcast, I watched a full episode. I did feel for Ed. Yeah, he's out here to find love. 28 years trying to find love. He finally found someone. He flew to the Philippines to see her, and things didn't go according to plan. But I also thought that it was a shitty move of him to say that 3 months in. And also, he's planning to propose as well. I do feel for Rose, too, because her dream is to have a family, is to have another kid. You're literally crushing her dreams by saying that. And with 3 months of talking, there are so many chances you could have said that. But he just chose not to. And then watching this, I'm trying to kind of figure out how Ed is, because Ed is a guy who lives in his own brain. He lives in his own thoughts. He always thinks that he's right. And he, how could I say this? Always talks to Rose like she is a kid. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's how he would talk to Rose. The fact that he's grilling her about her past and she's like, I don't want to talk about it. And he's like, oh, she's unfaithful. You're unfaithful if you don't take a test. So take a test. And at one point, Rose did say that, I think you're a bad person. And Ed reacted like, I don't know if anyone has ever seen this, but there is an episode of, I think, Super Nanny.
Okay, a little intermission. It's not Super Nanny. I completely got it wrong, but it's from Wife Swap. And then the wife wanted the family to eat healthy, so she was throwing away the bacons, and the kid literally packed his bag with 2 shirts and just walked away.
Never see this face again.
That was Ed. When Rose told him that he was a bad person, he literally walked away because he got angry that Rose got upset because he didn't tell her. he didn't want a kid. He's also angry at her because she is sad. So that makes me question who he is as a person, how he reacts to things, and how is he 54 and he handles emotion like this. This is basically just the start of us understanding and learning about how Ed is. So after all this, they kind of like went their separate ways. Ed flew home, met up with his mom. His mom was like, how was things? And he was like, I feel like Rose doesn't trust me at all. Mind you, he was the one who asked for tests. He was the one who grilled her past. And literally, he said to his mom that he doesn't think that Rose trusts him. And this is Ed and Rose back in 2020. And Ed is still in the spotlight for the same reason. And his lore doesn't end here. If you think that that was the end, no, it gets worse. Every time I see Ed's face, I would be like, oh, he's back. Why is he back again? Like I would, watch a commentary video about him trying to date this person. He went on a show again and then he would disappear for like a year or so. And then a year later, he was posted again. I was like, oh, he's still dating around like this. He's still going on a show like this. So it doesn't stop here. It goes on and on. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm going to stop for today because the Ed lore is just so much. It's so big. It's so long. It's just unnecessarily, which I don't know why I know much. Unfortunately, I know too much. So this podcast existed. Thanks for listening to my first episode of this Nobody Asked podcast because I've always wanted to start a podcast. I always just want to ramble. And I think this is a perfect reason and perfect thing to do. And that's it for this episode of Nobody Asked. Thanks for listening to me ramble about stories that nobody asked, and I'll see you in the next episode.